This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and Jack Bond with you today. We had Jack on during the summer for an episode as he filled in for Lee Sterling, and he's back again today, and Lee will return tomorrow. But the good news with Jack today, we got a lot of NHL talk. Why? Because the season starts today. And I say today because you have a 5 o'clock start with the two-time defending champion Panthers hosting the Blackhawks, Penguins, and Rangers, then followed up by the Avalanche and the Kings. So a busy day and night of NHL with a couple of best bets for the season and for a game tonight. We'll recap Monday Night Football, Jacksonville's comeback over Kansas City, and we have some Major League Baseball as well to go over. So without further ado, Jack, let's get to a blowout special.
Oh, boy. Last one out, turn off the lights. This one's a blowout.
We begin on the ice, Jack, with the late night matchup out in L.A. It's the Kings and the Avalanche as they hook up. The Kings, I think, are just happy not to see the Edmonton Oilers, who have knocked them out of the playoffs the last few years. So it's somebody a little different. Colorado still obviously one of the top-tier teams in the Western Conference. But the Kings favorite at home against the Avalanche. Jack, what do you like tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think the Kings can be happy to not see the Oilers tonight, but they are going to be seeing the Oilers in the playoffs for at least the next couple of years after Connor McDavid signed that 2-year extension yesterday. With that being said, it should be a relief to see anybody other than the Oilers for them on opening night. You know, I'll probably hold off on tonight's two early games, although I do think the Panthers are in a bit of a hangover spot after winning the Cup for a second straight year and not having Sasha Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk to help them out tonight. So we'll go with this late game in Los Angeles instead. The Kings come off yet another first-round loss in the playoffs last year. And while I don't really think you can have a look-ahead spot on your first game of the season, they do leave home right after this game to go play at Vegas, at Winnipeg, and at Minnesota to start the season. So they've got a bit of a tough road stretch to start the season off right after tonight. Now, that said, they come into this one with the home team winning each of the last 5 games in this head-to-head series with Colorado. And most importantly, Colorado's biggest weakness, really going into last year and coming into this year, has been their goaltender. It's been Mackenzie Blackwood, the uncertainty of what he would bring last year and now coming into this year. Now, he was fantastic to start the season last year. In fact, he was the Vezina Trophy favorite for the first couple of months of the season until he dealt with some injuries. Well, he's coming into the season with more injuries right now. He's not even traveling with the team to Los Angeles, and they've got Scott Wedgwood backing him up on the road on primetime television to start the year. That's not good for a team that goes up and down the ice all night. They do give up high danger chances despite having guys like Cale Makar on the back end. So for the Avalanche, they get Gabe Landeskog back tonight. It's a great story that he's back in hockey. The several-year recovery from some knee injuries and some other lower body injuries. As the captain of this team, you know, it's understandable they're excited to get him back. But the Kings are also celebrating Andrei Kopitar's final season home opener with the organization. He's going to be retiring at the end of this year. So they've got enough to celebrate on their own end. There's got to be enough to look forward to in this game. The Kings were still the best team in hockey last year. They went, I believe, 31-6-4 at Crypto.com Arena, or Staples Arena, whatever you want to, Staples Center, whatever you want to call it nowadays. This was the best team in hockey last year at home. Now, they were struggled on the road, but until they prove me wrong, I'm going to keep betting on this team at home. They've got largely the same lineup as they did last year. They signed Corey Perry in the offseason. Now he's dealing with a long-term knee injury. And they've got Cody Ceci on the back end to help things out a little bit. But at least on a game-by-game basis, I'm going to be betting this team at home. I'm going to keep doing it until they prove me wrong. Give me the LA Kings money line, -120, -125 in a blowout special.
That's interesting. You mentioned Corey Perry. That means the Kings are going to the Stanley Cup this year because every team he goes to, they go to the Stanley Cup somehow late in his career. But you do
they need somebody else to win it now. Yeah,
I know they need somebody there. And you bring up a good point about the goaltending with Colorado. Colorado's got so much firepower, but yet it's the same thing with Edmonton. Like, you just don't have reliable goaltending. Like, you can have all the stars and all the scoring, but if you don't have somebody back there, they're not getting Patrick Waugh back there anytime soon. So if Colorado just got a reliable goalie and wasn't cycling through these guys, maybe they could take that next step in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think if Blackwood can or did stay healthy last year, that investment would pay off. They really bought low on him. He looked fantastic at first and then dealt with the injury bug. It just seems like there's one – the Avalanche are one of those teams where their one or two weaknesses always bring them down. You don't see that often with the Florida Panthers or when the Lightning were winning their cups. You know, but the Lightning had defensive depth issues back in the late 2010s and early 2020s when they were still winning their cups. They were able to overcome those deficits and those weaknesses. The Avalanche seem to amplify their weaknesses in the postseason, especially late in the year. Now, if it's not the goaltending, they've had some bottom six forward group issues, but overall, I feel like we say this year in and year out, the Avalanche are a team that should be cup contenders, if not cup favorites every year, and yet we just haven't seen it outside of that one season. So if they can get Blackwood healthy and playing 45 to 50 games this year, great, that investment pays off. Until then, this team's not as reliable as I think we want them to be.
And very exciting opening night, and hockey is back now. The Panthers start against the Blackhawks, and again, Pittsburgh and New York. We're going to talk more about the Penguins coming up a little bit later on, looking ahead to their season previews, see if they could get back on track or not. But let's recap, Jack, now. Last night, the picks, not so great, 1-3. The only winner was Travis Etienne, rushing prop, finished under in that game, and Lee hit that one. Jacksonville was down 14-0 to Kansas City. They came back. They had the pick six on Patrick Mahomes. Trevor Lawrence had that late touchdown. So the Jags got the win, and Lee also had he laid the points to the Chiefs. So Kansas City, it seemed like they were running away with that game, but then Jacksonville made a nice comeback, and the Jags now are 4-1.
Yeah, a bit of a fluky game. I mean, hand it to Jacksonville. They did what they've done all year, and they capitalized on turnovers. The Etienne rushing prop never really seemed to be in doubt. In fact, I think Mahomes and Lawrence finished as the leading rusher on both of their teams last night too. But the pick six for 99 yards, some questionable refereeing on both ends of the ball. We'll take a 1-on-1 split and move on, and that's Monday Night Primetime Football for you sometimes.
Trevor Lawrence had 54 yards rushing. Patrick Mahomes had 60 yards rushing. So who would have thought that would have been the case, that both quarterbacks lead their teams in rushing? As far as the baseball went last night, for me, I had the under in the first five of the Brewers and the Cubs, and that didn't work out too well since the Cubs hit a 3-run homer in the top of the first, and the Brewers hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the first, and it was done. And Milwaukee, got to give them credit. Let's hit on that really quick with the Brewers, Jack. That, man, Milwaukee's just a machine right now, and I'm not going to go to the Craig Counsell regrets his move over to Chicago because he helped build the Brewers and they were successful with him. But my goodness, I mean, Milwaukee, you don't think of any kind of star power there. Yeah, Christian Yelich won MVP years ago, but they've just found a way to put this thing together. Good pitching, good hitting, and they just keep rolling on up 2-0 over the Cubs.
Yeah, I'll post something for you. I think Jackson Chourio is a star. If he's not a star yet, he will be next year. In fact, we gave out the Brewers money line to our baseball clients, and we cashed on that. But I hesitated to give it out, and I waited as long as I could to see if we could get an injury update on him, to see if he would play with that hamstring issue that was inconclusive on the MRI imaging. I mean, I'll tell you what, though, the logic behind the bet, I think, is a very fair logic. At the end of the day, maybe it comes down to betting Cubs team total unders in the postseason moving forward. They've scored 3 runs or less in 13 straight postseason games now. So that predates Counsell, that predates this pitching staff, and a lot of these even, their acquisitions that have helped them get to this point. But yeah, they get one bit of momentum from that Seiya Suzuki home run, and Milwaukee immediately responds. That seems to be what this team's been doing all year, and really for the last 5 or 6 years since they've taken a stranglehold over the NL Central. And every year we assume it's not going to work in the postseason. And for the most part, we've been right. Against this Cubs team, though, that just hasn't been able to keep up with them offensively, if that's how these games are going to go, these game scripts are going to go, they have no problem putting up 5, 6, 7, or 8 runs. And they did that again last night. So I think at this point, you're betting either Cubs team total unders or at least, Brewers money lines until until the Cubs can prove you wrong.
So 3 of the 4 series, we have a team up 2-0. 2 of them with a home team up 2-0. In the other one, the road team took the first 2. It got a little dicey there in the 9th inning for the Dodgers last night. Blake Snell was the final pick. Lee had under his strikeouts. He went over. Blake Snell has just been absolutely tremendous this year with the Dodgers. And the Phillies haven't been able to figure him out. The Phillies figured out the Dodgers bullpen. It got interesting. And then that throw at the end by Tommy Edman almost went Chuck Knobloch there and threw it past Freddie Freeman. That would have ended the game if Freeman didn't make that stop at first base. But the Dodgers, though, they go into Philadelphia. I'll give you this number here, Jack. That's now 2-9 the last 11 playoff games for the Phillies. It's just unbelievable how this team can dominate the regular season. We understand LA's a machine, but you go in at home and you lose twice. Now you got to go out on the road and try to save your season.
Yeah, and part of the handicap yesterday when we gave out that strikeout prop on Blake Snell was that the Phillies would make him work and get his pitch count up. Not only did that not happen, Dave Roberts has every reason to avoid his bullpen right now. At this point, they're going with starters out of the bullpen. I'm sure we'll see Clayton Kershaw in relief at some point, if not, in Game 3 at home. I'll give you a couple more stats. In this series so far, the big 3 for the Phillies, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper are 2 for 20 with 11 strikeouts so far against the top 2 pitchers of the Dodgers. And even worse, over the last 8 postseason games, Turner, Schwarber, Alec Boehm, JT Realmuto, and Brandon Marsh are a combined 17 for 117 with 32 strikeouts. That's a 145 batting average over the Phillies' last 8 postseason games. They've lost 7 of those 8. So, when you get Blake Snell on the road and in a big spot, he can have those meltdown spots. He didn't last night, and it just seemed like the Phillies were gifting him strikeouts and gifting him poor at-bats all night. And then, it's hard to rely on this Dodgers bullpen right now. We talked about it last week when we took the Dodgers team total over against the Reds in that elimination game, and we cashed there. But again, they had bullpen issues. It's not just every couple of games now with the Dodgers bullpen. It's dating back 2 months now. They've had a below league average bullpen. And it's not just that they've had a below league average bullpen. They're blowing spots and games in big spots. Their high leverage ERAs are really poor right now. Blake Treinen, who I considered one of the best relievers of the last 5 years, is all of a sudden fallen off. Their big offseason acquisition of Tanner Scott to be their closer has not worked out at all. So a really crazy game. We laid off of it for our clients, but really the only thing that came through were the 2 starting pitchers, and they were both fantastic. And the Phillies can't be waiting until the 7th or 8th inning to wake up with the bats. Yeah,
and Shohei Ohtani did have an RBI late, but he's 1 for 9 in the series, and they're still up 2-0. So the Dodgers, again, now going back home, 2 shots to win 1. We'll see what they can do if they can go back to the NLCS. We'll talk about the Mariners and Tigers coming up, the afternoon game today. Yankees, my God, they need to do something to stop the bleeding. They got Toronto tonight at home. We'll talk about the Mariners and Tigers. Also, a couple more NHL plays looking ahead to the season with a couple of plays from Jack. That is all straight ahead. You are listening to Locked On Bets. Time now to talk about FanDuel, and another week of the NFL is wrapped up, but guess what? We got another week coming up. Week 6 is straight ahead. Eagles-Giants starting on Thursday. FanDuel is an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, and so many great choices. Let's start with Eagles-Giants, for instance. If you want to bet on the side, you want to lay the points with the Eagles, you want to take the points with the Giants, you want to bet on the total, you want to bet on the money line, you think the Giants will win outright. I mean, who knows? The NFL's been crazy. You can try that and see. But also, player props, Jalen Hurts, his passing props. You could look at that. You could look at Jackson Dart props, Saquon Barkley. So many of those you could bet on FanDuel. And then if you want to go, let's just say, to the MVP props, Josh Allen is the favorite to win the MVP. You could bet that at FanDuel. Patrick Mahomes is right behind. Also, Super Bowl favorites, the Bills, again, right behind them. The Eagles, the Lions, also with their resurgence of late after their Week 1 loss to the Packers. You could bet on all of that. AFC champion, NFC champion, so many choices. And then, of course, after the NFL, you have college football, the playoffs. NHL starts tonight. the NBA starting in just a few weeks. So many choices you have at FanDuel. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. We continue here, Locked On Bets on a Tuesday. Kevin Rogers and Jack Bond. He is in today for Lee Sterling, breaking down the NHL. We have some more NHL best bets to get to, but right now we will look at the afternoon affair in Detroit, the Mariners and the Tigers. And it's time now for a hidden gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
And Jack, we're going to look at a strikeout prop today. Logan Gilbert takes the mound for the Mariners. This series all tied up at 1, a couple 3-2 games. Detroit won the opener. Seattle won game 2. So now headed to the Motor City. I'll give you this stat against Logan Gilbert, Jack. The Tigers haven't won a home game since September 6th. It's been that long. They haven't played a home game since middle of September. They got swept in back-to-back series by the Guardians and the Braves. Last time they won a home game was against the White Sox on September 6th. So it's been a hot minute for them. But Logan Gilbert takes them out for Seattle. He has owned Detroit so far this season in 2 starts, 10 strikeouts and 9 strikeouts. His strikeout total today at 6.5. We're going to take the over on that. Detroit is 4th in Major League Baseball in strikeout rate. They strike out a ton. And also, give you this number too. Logan Gilbert, I don't think he qualified because he was out for a bit, but as far as strikeout rates, and he still pitched a good amount. He's not like a guy out of the bullpen. But his strikeout rate is slightly higher than Tarek Skubal and Garrett Crochet. So this guy will rack up the strikeouts. Detroit strikes out a ton. I'm going to take the over 6.5 on his strikeouts today. Mariners and Tigers, that's series all set at 1.
Yeah, 27% K rate against Gilbert for this Tigers lineup in their careers. 21 strikeouts and 77 at-bats. It's pretty brutal. This team already strikes out a lot. Guys like Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson are really – they embody that new age of hitters. They're 3 true result type guys. And the Tigers have the most strikeouts among any team in baseball in the postseason this year. So hard to argue against that one.
Quickly, you don't have to give a pick, but what are your thoughts with the Yankees later tonight against the Blue Jays?
I'll be curious to see where the weather is for that game in the Bronx. The Yankees bullpen is just rearing its ugly head again. And they were great to finish the regular season. The whole team was great. Remember, they were the hottest team in baseball coming into the postseason, and they just seemed to have hit a battering ram at the very last minute here with Toronto. So, you know, I'll see where the lineups are. I'm a little shocked Bo Bichette is still not in this Blue Jays lineup and is not on the ALDS roster. But, this is one of those situations where you want to hear what managers are saying before the game. You've got to sense some desperation from the Yankees. How long of a leash are they going to give Rodon? The Blue Jays have hit lefties well this year, but, this is still a young team. It's hard to get much of a grasp on this game. Shane Bieber is he's one of the most likable players in baseball. That's not why you make the bet on the Blue Jays tonight, but knowing that he's got some postseason experience, not only in postseason experience, but postseason experience as an ace on a team that doesn't have Chris Bassett or Max Scherzer on the squad in the ALDS. They're probably going to look for some length out of him tonight, considering their bullpen is relatively thin. And then what can the Blue Jays do against a lefty like Rodon? I've got Rodon's stats up here. He did pitch well against the Red Sox. He's got, the Blue Jays have a 254 average against him career, 752 OPS. So middling numbers. It's hard to avoid, or it's hard to sort of block out the momentum that the Blue Jays are riding right now.
All right, we're going to go back to the NHL, go back to the Motor City. The Detroit Red Wings, can they finally break through and get in the playoffs? It's now time for Bet a Little, Win a Lot.
They say you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So bet a little, win a lot.
Looking ahead to the Red Wings, can they get in the top 8 of the Eastern Conference? That is the big question. And, Jack, do you think this will be the year for them? I mean, they went, 25 years? They had that long streak of going to the playoffs. Now it feels like they haven't been in the playoffs in a long time. So the Red Wings, do you think they finally break through this year?
I do. Steve Yzerman, he's a Red Wings legend. He's been the general manager there since 2019 now, going on 6 years. He's not found any postseason appearances since he's been there during that sort of rebuild after that 25-year stretch. But he brought in Todd McClellan last year. McClellan took over the Red Wings bench right after Christmas in 2024 of last season. And after he took over, they went 26-18-4. That's a 95-point pace and probably would have gotten them in the playoffs in the East, or would have gotten them in the playoffs in the East if they had been there all season. Now, keep in mind, that came with a bottom 10 save percentage and goaltending position the rest of the way. I mean, I mentioned the bottom 10 save percentage because last year Detroit relied on 5 different goalies for multiple starts. Ville Husso, Cam Talbot, Alex Nedeljkovic, all these guys. Mainly Cam Talbot and Alex Lyon, former Panther. Is it Lyon or Lyon?
Lion, the Lion King.
Lion King, okay.
Yeah.
So those two guys really took over the net. Now they've acquired John Gibson from Anaheim, the veteran goaltender who was really one of the best goaltenders of the last 10 years in the NHL, and he started to fall off a bit over the last several years due to injuries and just a struggling Ducks team. Gibson has plenty of motivation coming into this year. His career arch has really led to most of us believing he's not a number one anymore. I think he can be. And I think when you're on a team like Anaheim where you're out of the playoff race by December or January, and the team can find a reason to put you on the shelf and give a young goaltender some run late in the year, they're going to do that. So I think he's got some motivation to be a number one again. And then at that point, Cam Talbot can slot into that number two, and he really can be one of the better number twos in the NHL. Now, the thing is, the Atlantic Division is really weird this year. I don't know a better way to describe the Atlantic Division. You would expect Toronto, Tampa, and Florida to make it, and then you have Ottawa, Montreal, and Detroit sort of fighting for those final couple of spots in the wild card. But this is yet again the division with probably the most parity in the NHL. I mean, you'd expect all those teams, maybe even Buffalo too, to be playing some tough hockey in April. Do I want to bank on this Red Wings team running up points in late season snooze fests for an over on their points prop? Not really. But I think they can sneak in, especially at a price of plus 260? Yeah, absolutely I can. So I think they've got the good enough. They've got a much improved, though still young, bottom 6 forward group. They've got Mo Seider. They've got some better defensemen to help him out, again, on the younger side. And they finally got a veteran number one goalie, which I do think they've been missing the last couple of years. So if I can get them at plus 260 to make the playoffs, I'm going to do it. Give me the Red Wings to be playing some April hockey, plus 260. Bet a little, win a whole lot.
All right, and we're going to continue with one more NHL bet that is coming up. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. We'll see what they do this season as we continue right here on Locked On Bets. Locked On Bets continues here on a Tuesday. Kevin Rogers and Jack Bond. He's in for Lee Sterling today at the NHL. And Jack, let's get to our final pick, our lock of the day.
Open it, open it, open it. Lee has the key to the lock of the day.
I'll just put it this way to you. You have no faith in the Pittsburgh Penguins at all this season?
I could not have less faith in the Pittsburgh Penguins this season. 74.5 regular season points is where they're sitting right now on FanDuel. Let's start from the back with this Penguins team. In net, they had the 5th worst save percentage in all of hockey last year. They had Alex Nedeljkovic and Tristan Jarry in net. Now, keep in mind, Jarry was a second-round pick about 10 years ago, but he struggled so much really since he got the number one spot in Pittsburgh about 6 or 7 years ago that they relegated him to the backup behind Nedeljkovic last season. So what do they do to address those concerns? Well, they traded Nedeljkovic away, and they brought in another backup in Arthur Seelovs, who used to play for the Vancouver Canucks and actually had to play some postseason hockey for them a couple years ago against my Nashville Predators. So they've got 2 backup goaltenders fighting for number one spot. Jarry being one of them, who's already lost the starter spot, and Seelovs, who's never really been talented or projected to be a number one goaltender. So don't expect much improvement from them in net after already struggling last year in terms of save percentage and several other goaltender statistics that we like to track. Defensively, moving up the ice, they lost Matt Grzelcyk and P.O. Joseph to free agency. They aren't big contributors, but all they did was add a guy in Caleb Jones, who's a fringe number 6 defenseman on a decent team. And it's not like the goalies were the only ones struggling to give up goals last year. I mean, this defense gave up the 10th highest expected goals per game, third worst in goals per game on average, and eighth worst high danger chances against per game as well in the NHL. Erik Karlsson and Chris Letang are shells of their former selves, and the rest of these guys are fringe NHLers. In fact, Letang, I hope he's doing okay. It sounds like he's going to be ready for opening night tonight, but he's coming off of open heart surgery over the offseason. So he really is their number one. They maybe have some 4s and 5s outside of that, but they don't have any defensive depth. And I don't think Erik Karlsson is much more than a power play quarterback at this point in his career, even if that. Up front, they have Sidney Crosby. I'll never speak poorly of Sidney Crosby. He's an incredible player. And then they've still got the last year of Evgeny Malkin coming in as well. But outside of that group of top 3 forwards, it's really Crosby, Malkin, and Brian Rust. They've got a bunch of middle 6, bottom 6 guys and didn't improve their offense at all. And keep in mind, last year they put up, I think it was 80 or 81 points last year by the time the season finished up. And that was with Crosby being fully healthy. He might have missed 1 or 2 games, but he played a full season last year and played MVP caliber hockey. This guy's got major injury history. He's on the other side of 35 now. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes on another injury this year. And if this guy misses 10, 15, 20 games in this season, I don't know. I don't see where this team's going to bring some goals in. So on top of all of that, add in that they are led by a brand new head coach in Dan Muse. He's just 43 years old. He doesn't have much experience behind an NHL bench, let alone leading an NHL bench. I think he's set up for failure. Schedule-wise, 9 of their first 14 games are on the road. And I just don't really see how this team could possibly get off to enough of a good start to avoid trading off their stars by the deadline. I'm in the minority. I don't believe Crosby's going to get traded this year. I think he finishes his career in Pittsburgh. I just think it's going to be finishing with a bit of a dud. So give me the Pittsburgh Penguins under 74.5 regular season points. That's a level 3 lock.
All right, a lot of good stats, a lot of good analysis there from Jack. And before we let you go, Jack, tell us what's going on with Paramount Sports with the NHL season starting.
Yeah, we got hockey starting tonight, as Lee mentioned yesterday. Football is just on an absolute heater right now. You can get our baseball props as well. We went 1-0 last night on the Milwaukee Brewers money line. You can get our baseball props, which have done well, for $97 through the World Series. You can also just get our baseball picks for $97 through the World Series as well. On top of that, hockey right now is $14.97 through the Stanley Cup final. That'll include some plays for the Olympics coming up as well. You can even get that down to $11.97 with code SAVE300 on the website. That's SAVE 300 on the website. Check us out on ParamountSports.com or give us a call at the office, 800-400-9741.
Always a great job when Jack Bond fills in. You can find him on X at Paramount NHL. You can find myself on X at Rogers Picks. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets, as well as the podcast on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Lee will be back tomorrow, but another great job by Jack Bond filling in today. For Jack, I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Locked On Bets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.